How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we have a ton of new things to talk about. We have some really big hitting news in the world of Flesh and Blood. We have History Pack 2, we have History Pack 1 Blitz decks, which are very interesting, as well as the new Banned and Suspended announcement. Now, while the Banned and Suspended announcement is very exciting and spicy, especially for you meta players in Classic Constructed, I honestly think History Pack 2 is such a big deal and no one is talking about it. So we're going to talk about History Pack 2 first, go into the Blitz decks, and then cap it off with my thoughts on the Banned and Suspended announcements. Spoilers, get out of here, winner's whale. Anyway, all right, let's get on with this. So History Pack 2. So History Pack 2, as you can see here, is History Pack 2 Black Label, available from February 24th. Now, this was posted on January 24th, which is, at the time of this recording, only 3 days. 3 days from the time of this recording. So this is going to be coming out in about a month or so, which is actually very important. And so what is History Pack 2? Well, it is a black border set, so it's Black Label here, as you can see. And it contains reprints from the first, or rather from sets from the second year of Flesh and Blood, in French, German, Italian, and Spanish. And so this is really important because those languages did not have these cards up until this point. And so what are those sets? It's basically Monarch to Everfest, right? So it's Monarch, Tales of Aria, and Everfest. And some of those heroes are some of the most prevalent in the entire game, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Banned and Suspended announcement. And getting those heroes in these languages is a huge deal because there are so many people who won't play the game unless it's in their language, right? Like, would you play Flesh and Blood if it was only in, like, German, right? And you had to, like, translate everything and you didn't speak German? Probably not, right? Probably not. So getting this into those languages is a really big deal. And I don't think it should be understated at all. It also says, to celebrate the release of History Pack 2 in localized European languages for the first time, we have crafted a limited edition Black Label version of History Pack 2 that includes the 3 Fabled cards from this era. Important to note right now, I'm going to say this right now, and we'll talk about it in just a second, this does not have Marvel cards, and it specifically says it on here. There are no Marvel heroes in this set, but there are the Fabled cards, which would be the Library of Solana, the Grandeur of Valahai, and Corsham. And here we have the product sheets here. We're not going to really dive into the product sheets. You can definitely go and check this out for your respective language if you would like. The key dates here are obviously February 24th, like I said. It's a massive 536 card set that has 3 Fabled, 14 Legendary, 78 Majestics, 140 Rares, 301 Commons. Please note, no Marvels. So those of you out there who just want to snatch up all of the goody Marvels like you did with History Pack 1, there are no Marvels in here. You could still get your cool, like, German language cards or whatever, but just know, no Marvels. Same deal, 10 cards per pack, 36 packs per display, 4 displays per case. Very, you know, it's basically the exact same as History Pack 1, except, once again, no Marvels. I also want to note that the marketing assets, it looks super cool. I'm really happy that they changed the key art just a little bit, as you can see here. Like, I thought they would just use the exact same key art and just be like History Pack with the 2, but no, they changed it, which I wonder if they're going to do this for every History Pack. I do know eventually they want to release an English version of this that'll likely be just white border, but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so that's the History Pack 2. I guess I'm curious. Let's check out what this says. Is this just going to be all in French? I don't know. In any case, yeah, History Pack 2, I think it's really important. The one thing I'm very curious are foils. Like, does it come with foils? I'm unsure. I'm unsure of whether it comes with foils or not. It doesn't say. And that's something that I was hoping to see on, like, the product sheet. But it's not in a language that I speak, so I'm not sure. But it does come with, you know, with the Fables, as you can see here, which are very cool. I can dig it. I don't know if these are foil or not, or if they're non-foil. I would assume they're rainbow foil. But I am unsure, because I know that History Pack 1 had rainbow foil Fables. So I assume they're rainbow foil. I'm not sure about any of their stuff. Anyway, let's stop talking about History Pack 2, even though it is very, very cool. And we're going to talk about History Pack 1 Blitz decks, which were also just announced, which I also think are incredibly important. So here we have History Pack 1 Blitz decks, also available on February 24th. Now it says, these are ready to play out of the box. History Pack 1 Blitz decks are crafted as an ideal product for kitchen table gaming, featuring 6, there's going to be 6 of these freaking things, iconic heroes from the origin of Flesh and Blood, basically from Arcane Rising and Welcome to Wraith. History Pack 1 Blitz decks are an ideal product to purchase by the display to enjoy as a complete box set. I agree with this, actually. I think this is a really great way to purchase this product. They also are going to be available in French, German, Italian, and English, as well as, or French, German, Italian, and Spanish, as well as English, which I think is super, super important. These are going to be the first like Blitz decks available in those languages. Like so this is almost as important, maybe more important than History Pack 2, because this is finally a starter product for those markets, which is incredibly important. So I honestly think this is a big deal. I would love to do a review of these, so stay tuned here on the channel. I probably will do a review of these for the English version at least. Checking out the decks and saying whether or not I think they're worth it for you. But in any case, I do think this is a great idea. So it does say European territories, February 24th, rest of the world, April 7th. So we won't be getting English versions until April 7th is what I'm getting from this. They are all 40 card pre-constructed decks that have a hero weapon and equipment cards. It doesn't say that it has foil heroes, so probably not. 6 decks per display, 1 of each hero, 4 displays per case. Designed as a fun and fast way to play Flesh and Blood, perfect for kitchen table gaming. Also, I think they're probably great for learning how to play. And so, which heroes are going to be here? Well, let's take a look at the English release here. So, Blitz decks available from February 24th. Or maybe they are available February 24th, at least in English. I'm not sure. This is the English product page here. And we can take a look at all of the heroes here. Let's get a nice little zoom. So these are the 6 heroes that we will be able to play with the History Pack. I know Kano's kind of being blocked by my camera here. But these are the 6, right? So it is basically all of the heroes that aren't going to be in Outsiders, because we have Blitz decks coming out in Outsiders that are also overlapping here. So of course we have Bravo, Dorinthia, and Reiner from Welcome to Wraith, and then we have Viserai, which is really interesting. I'll talk about Viserai in just a second. Viserai, Kano, and Dash. And then of course we're missing Azalea and Katsu, which will be Blitz decks for Outsiders, and which makes me really, really curious as to why. Like, it's not a big deal, but I'm just curious if they specifically chose those 2 to go to Outsiders because all the rest are coming here, or something like that. It really feels like, you know, they really planned around this, which I think is good. I think it's good. I think it's smart. Also, having these characters as Blitz decks is awesome because the Arcane Rising heroes never had starter deck products, whereas the Welcome to Wraith heroes did have the initial hero decks. So I think that's really, really cool. I'm also very curious how much incorporation of higher rarity cards are going to be in here, like Majestics. Probably not any at all, but it would be cool for each deck to have like 1 or something. They probably won't. They're probably just going to be commons and rares, but full playsets would be awesome. And I do know, I read about this on Twitter, because that's the best place to get information. Brian Gottlieb actually designed all of these decks. And it is pretty smart. And, you know, I think they could be pretty solid. And I'm hoping that they are. So I'm definitely keen on checking these out, looking at the deck list. I'm hoping for full playsets of everything. One of the things I like least about starter deck products is when they teach players bad deck building habits and they just have random one-ofs, whereas you would always have a playset of them in an actual deck. Just put the playset in the deck, man. Just a small TCG pet peeve. Not saying these are like that. They might be. I don't know. Just a small TCG pet peeve. So Viserai is the most interesting one here because Viserai is actually a living legend in Blitz, which means you cannot play him in any sanctioned Blitz event. Now, that does not mean this deck is still not useful for teaching new players how to play. It just means that you can't play with the hero in a sanctioned event. However, What you can do is you can play him in Commoner, and you can also play him in Ultimate Pit Fight. So this still has a function, right? You might not be able to play him in Blitz, but you can still play him in Commoner and Ultimate Pit Fight. And I think Ultimate Pit Fight is going to be, like, I think the set is going to be sweet for Ultimate Pit Fight. You buy this box set, you have all 6 of these, and then you can battle them in Ultimate Pit Fight with your friends, invite them over, teach them how to play Flesh and Blood, play multiplayer. Good times. So yeah, I think the Viscera is a little weird, but also, like I said, Commoner, Ultimate Pit Fight. Don't forget that other formats exist outside of Classic Constructed and Blitz. So yeah, but it's kind of weird, but it makes sense for completion's sake here, since, like I said, we have Azalea and Katsu in Outsiders. The MSRP for these, I do believe, is just the same as always, like $12. Yeah, MSRP $12, pretty good. Like I said, I would like to do a review of these and give you my opinions on whether or not I think they're worth it for you as a new player, whether I think they're not worth it for board game bundle purposes, like you can just keep them together as a board game, as like a battle box, and everything in between. So stay tuned for that in the coming months. All right, so let's start talking about the banned and suspended announcement. This is a doozy. All right, so a lot of stuff got banned from Classic Constructed. I want to save you some time. Nothing got banned from Blitz. Nothing got banned from Commoner. It's only Classic Constructed. So if you don't care about those formats, then but it's still kind of interesting. If you don't care about those formats, these cards got a lot cheaper. So if you want to pick these cards up in really fancy versions for other formats, like, I don't know, Ultimate Pit Fight or something, now's a good time to pick them up. Okay, so the following cards got banned and or suspended. So Belittle got banned, Winter's Wail got banned, Amulet of Ice is suspended until Icelander becomes Living Legend, and Hypothermia is suspended for the same duration. And basically, they did this because there's a huge dominance of Oldhim, Icelander, and Fi in the Classic Constructed meta. Oldhim in particular is just so annoying. He's just so annoying. He's my least favorite hero to play against. No shade on you if you like Oldhim. You know, I know a lot of people who really love Oldhim. As a character, I think he's cool. Pun definitely intended. But as someone to play against, it is frustrating. One of my top most unfun heroes in Flesh and Blood, up there with Reyna and Kano. Unfun to play against. Really fun to play as, especially Kano and Reyna. But as the opponent, maybe they're a little bit selfish. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about these. So Winter's Wail is the big one, which is the weapon. Winter's Wail, and we can go ahead and, let's go ahead and go to game and go to card galleries, and we're going to go ahead and look up Winter's Wail. Because Winter's Wail is the hammer that pitches for 3 to attack for 4, and if you pitch an ice card, then it will create a frostbite on hit, which I think is it's really good. It's really good. The thing is, it's like, when you look at Winter's Wail, and as this takes a million years to load, when you look at Winter's Wail, it doesn't look like an overpowered card, but the more you play Flesh and Blood, the more you realize just how good it is at gaining incremental advantage over time, and that's what makes Flesh and Blood cards good. That's what makes Spring Tunic good, is that it gives you this small advantage over time that turns into a big advantage in the long run. So Winter's Wail, like I said, it's a tax for 4, or pitches for 3, tax for 4, and if you pitched an ice card, it gains the ability to generate frostbite on hits. And the fact that it just is a blue, pitch a blue, attack for 4, means that you can just block, attack with your hammer, block, attack with your hammer. And that's what you'd see with Oldhim, is they just block, attack with a hammer, and then occasionally do something. That's not that. It's something that I joke about a lot. It's like the most unfun games that I ever cast in at professional level events like the Pro Tour is like Oldhim versus Oldhim. And it's just like block, hammer, block, hammer. And hey, at least Starvo could wombo combo you and get you for some good damage to at least push the game ahead. So anyway, yeah. Winter's Wail, it's really good. Turns out there's a lot of really good cards from Tales of Aria. If you watched our Living Legends podcast episode on our like top saltiest cards, a lot of them are from Tales of Aria. And it says, Aria represents a set where boundaries were pushed, and as we learn more about Flesh and Blood, it becomes increasingly clear that Duskblade was not the only majestic weapon in Tales of Aria that went too far. Please, don't touch Voltaire. Come on, just don't. Rangers don't need that. You're already hurting Rangers enough with these other bands, so just don't touch it. Anyway, it says that it has as big an impact on the game as many two-handed weapons like Enothos, Romping Club, Nebula Blade, and Sledge of Anvilheim. Nebula Blade. That is not a name that I've heard for quite an age. No, it's because everyone plays freaking Rosetta Thorn. This is the set that has Rosetta Thorn. Let's not talk about majestic weapons that were maybe a little too far. Rosetta Thorn also was in the set. Just so you know. Anyway, so yeah, it's just really good. The opportunity cost is super low. You're able to swing back by an equation, or deal damage at a disproportionate amount as to like what you're putting into it. I don't know. I get it. This is an annoying card. We talked about it on the Living Legends podcast. It's a card that I've always thought was annoying. I wouldn't have pegged it for a ban, but I get it, right? I get it, and I'm not too sad about it. Oldham mains, probably sad. Everyone else, not sad at all. Now we have Hypothermia and Amulet of Ice. I'm actually kind of sad about Amulet of Ice because it's a card that is used in Lexi, and Lexi is a hero that could use the help. Lexi needs the amulet, man. She's still probably going to be fine, but it does take a little bit of a hit here for sure. Well, at least the ice versions of Lexi. Now, Hypothermia is just also another one of those really powerful cards. And you can talk about the full detail here, but like, I'm not going to read everything verbatim. I think the most important part here is the second paragraph where it says, with Hypothermia, an Arsenal Icelander feels virtually invulnerable against decks that rely on bestowing Go Again to their attacks. With a single free blue card, turns are routinely stolen from Briar, Dash, and Phi. Hypothermia can do multiple turns worth of setup and planning by, or can undo multiple turns worth of setup and planning by an opponent. And I think that's where it comes down to here, where it's a single card that can kind of shut down a bunch of shenanigans. It's still shenanigans, right? Briar, Dash, and Phi are all very, very strong, and they can push aggro very, very hard. But just having a single card completely shut them down feels unhealthy. Yeah, and then I guess that's all there is to say about that. The Amulet of Ice is kind of a bummer, like I said. And these are both tied to Icelander, so once Icelander hits Living Legend, your other ice heroes can use them. It just says that, the fact that Amulet of Ice is routinely part of Icelander's plans against aggro as well as control really tells you all you need to know about its power. I mean, it's just a really good card that, forces cards out of your opponent's hand. And that's what you use it for. You use it to force cards out of your opponent's hand, and it's good. It is a no block, right? And that is a very, very real downside. So it's I don't know. I'm still like iffy on the Amulet of Ice. Maybe it's just because I really like Lexi, but I can see it. I'm not too upset or anything. And then Belittle. Belittle is one that everyone's talked about for a very, very long time. It's just a card that it's a tutor, right? And tutors are not okay. In the grand scheme of card games, tutors are generally not the most fair things. And Belittle basically goes and gets you a blue for almost no cost. Lets you attack with something, and then reveal a card from your hand, and you go grab a more or less a blue Minnowism, and it just kind of like it just kickstarts this aggro strategy. And a lot of these like aggro decks kind of like form their basis around it, and yeah, I get it. Belittle Minnowism is a one that's a lot of folks are looking at in other formats as well, like Commoner. It's it's a great combination of cards. So yeah, I'm not super surprised on this. I do think it's interesting that they banned like something from everyone. So like, Oldham got a hit, Icelander, Oldham got a hit, Icelander got a hit, and then the aggro decks got a hit. So everything kind of got a hit. So, taking down all a little bit, maybe not all proportionally speaking, but all a little bit. And then they talk about Crown of Seeds here. And they said they're not blind to the fact that Crown of Saints is tremendously powerful, especially in Oldhim, because, you know, I think what makes it the most powerful is Oldhim's hero ability, which costs 2, and so you are able to pitch a single blue card, activate Oldhim's hero ability and Crown of Seeds at the same time. That's why it's so powerful. It's one of those cards, like I said, that it just gives you incremental advantage over time. It's one of those cards that, you know, once you realize how good it is as a Flesh and Blood player, I consider that like a level up moment. It's like when you realize why Tunic is so good, realizing why Crown of Seeds is so good is also one of those like level up moments in terms of evaluating like Flesh and Blood cards. So yeah, basically, they're not saying that they'll never ban a legendary card, but they always want to do what's best for the health of the game when it comes to banned and suspended announcements, and will exercise a greater degree of caution when it comes to legendary bans, and we absolutely view them as a last resort. So basically what they're saying is that they understand that legendaries are expensive and that people put a lot of investment into them, even if they are very, very powerful, like Crown of Seeds. And so they want to look at other options before they ban legendaries. And I think that's smart because it's just such a feel bad. Like, I know people are like, oh, I just bought a, you know, Winter's Whale or whatever, for, you know, a couple bucks. Imagine if you just bought a Crown of Seeds for, you know, $100+ bucks. I don't know how much they're going for these days. That would feel so much worse, even though you could use it in other formats still. So yeah, I think that's a really good takeaway from this, is that they're pretty hesitant about banning legendaries. And then they're, you know, Briar's getting up there, pretty close to Living Legend. I don't know, we'll see. Rosetta Thorn is a hell of a card. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and it was Outsiders here. And let's just do Control F and search for Outsiders. Okay, so here's a little bit that they mentioned about Outsiders, and I think it's really important here. It says, given internal testing as well as cards releasing in Outsiders, we believe Crown of Seeds should remain part of Classic Constructed at this time. I find this statement very interesting, as well as cards releasing in Outsiders. So they either believe that heroes and cards in Outsiders are going to push Oldhim out of the picture, because, you know, thereby pushing Crown of Seeds out of the picture, or they're going to be cards that will specifically help you deal with it or counter it, which is very interesting. So I'm very curious as to what's going on in Outsiders, obviously, but just in general, I find this statement very curious, very, very curious. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, Brian. Anyway, that's that. Overall, I mean, it's no big secret. Classic Constructed is not my favorite format. I'll just be completely honest. I like Blitz. I like Ultimate Pit Fight. I like Commoner. I like these faster formats, mostly because I don't have time to sit down and play like a 2-hour match against Oldhim or whatever. That's being a little hyperbolic, but still, I do like Classic Constructed, obviously. I love Flesh and Blood, but it's like my second or third most, you know, favorite way to play out of like 4 different ways. Not my favorite. I still like it. And overall, I think these bans are great. They seem good for the health of the format. It's going to be interesting. So these bans are coming up right before a big release. We have Outsiders coming out in just a few months. So these bans are only going to be like relevant-ish for like a couple months. And then we have Outsiders, which will definitely shake up the meta. Every single Flesh and Blood set that has come out has shaken things up significantly, with maybe the minor exception of Dynasty. Every single Flesh and Blood set has made a huge, huge impact. And I would be willing to bet that Outsiders does the same thing. So we'll have like a couple months-ish of these bans being in full effect, and then we're going to have like a ton of new cards and a ton of new things. So even if you're not a fan of these bans, we have Outsiders to look forward to. It's going to be Ninja, Assassin, and Ranger, 3 of my favorite classes. And so hopefully these classes can shake things up, even for folks who are not playing those classes, right? So if you're like a Reyna fan, maybe these other classes come in and shake things up to the extent where it makes your deck better, or your deck to have better matchups or something like that. Curious to know what your opinions are down below. I know there's going to be some people like rejoicing from Belittle and Winter's Whale being banned, and then people like bemoaning it as well, especially the Winter's Whale. Amulet of Ice is just sad for Lexi, in my opinion. It's just sad. Yo, Lexi mains, what are we running now that Amulet of Ice is banned? I was literally about to make a Lexi Ice deck tech. And I was like, you know, I'll just wait. And then bam, Amulet of Ice suspended. And I'm like, okay, what do I want to run now? Maybe Weave Ice? Let me know in the comments down below. And for those of you who have stuck around this far, let's okay, here we go. I'm gonna pick a word, and if you've watched this far, type the word so everyone knows you have watched this far. And the word is going to be favorable. Type favorable in the comments down below. If you like the content, please subscribe. I have channel memberships. I have my Patreon down there. I revamped my online store. A lot of things are selling for a lot cheaper. Most playmats are $30, but I also have $15 playmats, and I also have shirts for really cheap, as well as our little metal tokens. Lots of cool ways to support the channel if you like it. As always, please subscribe, ring the notification bell. It all really helps, and I appreciate it. It helps me keep doing what I'm doing. And we'll talk to you next time. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. We'll see you later.